Hello there, my name is Skull Hunter, and I'd like to welcome you to the Dragon Age Tabletop role-playing game How to Play series. This is the first episode that's going to be going live here on YouTube, of course recorded, and hopefully edited enough that it would be a good video series. Hoping. Now, of course, this is going to be me mostly talking about the Dragon Age Tabletop game, a game that's based on another game, well, same game, Dragon Age, that was developed by BioWare. And I'm going to go through it. I'm going to be explaining the rules of the game through these videos that I'll be doing. For today, I'll be doing the introduction of Dragon Age, kind of talk about what Dragon Age is, a bit of the rules, and also characters, etc., etc. So, just a baseline, entry point, I guess, before we get into character creation, talking about the rules, advancing, and all that. So, let us start, shall we? First question is, what is Dragon Age? Well, Dragon Age is a game series. It was developed by BioWare, started back in 2009, or after Mass Effect. Dragon Age was a role-playing game where you play as a warden, who is this character who started off with a backstory and eventually would become this Grey Warden, who were fighters of the Darkspawn. And it was an RPG, a mix between classic role-playing game and a modern role-playing game. Tried to mix them together into one, which succeeded, I guess. It had an interesting story, a world that I really loved, and a game that had some interesting mechanics. Eventually, Dragon Age 2 came out, and then later Dragon Age Inquisition. Uh, then, around 2010, the Dragon Age tabletop game came out. With its original set being the first set, which was between character levels 1 to 5. And eventually the two other sets came out 2 years later, about the 1 year with the second set, and the next year with the third set. And that's how the Dragon Age tabletop game kind of formed was from that game series. Now, in my honest opinion, I've loved the games. They brought me back into PC gaming, and I've enjoyed them. And for people who are interested in a tabletop game, playing the games is a very good help to you because they give you the knowledge of the lore, knowledge of the characters, how the races were, how the classes were based, because most of the tabletop role-playing game is based on that. Now, of course, I will segue into this question right now, since it is a good one, and that is, do I need to play Dragon Age to play the tabletop role-playing game? You don't have to. It's not a necessity to do it. It's just gonna help you out with the lore, getting a grasp on how culturing of the different races work and the laws and what gods they worship. Is of course your choice if you want to play the game or not. I think it's a good help, but you're not forced to. Of course, though, the core rulebook that is out, there is their own codex. There's all the information there. You can probably go online and find it somewhere, at least. So that is really the answer to that question. This is your choice if you want to play Dragon Age. It will be good help, but you're not forced to. I've had players in the game where they are totally new to Dragon Age and they've had fun still. So pretty nice, right? So um, that's pretty much what is Dragon Age based on and the tabletop game itself. Let's kind of get into what is the system about. Well, Dragon Age uses a different system than most tabletop games. It uses its own system that Green Ronin designed back in 2010, originally, which was designed by Chris Pramas. Came up with the idea of the AGE system, the adventuring game engine, which has now moved on to other sections of, I guess, gaming. Where now there's like a Fantasy Age one, there's a Titan's Grave, there's Modern Age now, and coming out soon there's the Expanse, and which I'm pretty interested in. The adventure game engine uses its own dice system. It's a 3 die 6 with one die being an odd die than the other two, and uses the stunt kind of chart where if you roll doubles, you do something amazing. Of course, I'll go through this in another video, probably in its own ability test video. But that's what really Dragon Age engine is used by. Has some elements from other systems, of course, but that's really what its focus has been, using those 3d6s. Now, what do I need to play Dragon Age? Well, you'll be needing is the core rulebook. Recently, well, not recently, a few years ago, Green Ronin published the core rulebook, Dragon Age core rulebook, which has all those three sets combined into one to make it its own separate copy. So you can find this, and that has all the rules you'll be needing, talking about character creation, how to roll stats, and abilities, specializations. It has everything you need in that game for both the players and even the game master himself. So you'll be needing that copy for sure. You'll be also needing, of course, dice. You'll be mostly using D6s, so you won't need to buy any like D20s or D8s, whatever. All you need is at least 3d6s, with one of them being an odd color than the other two. You'll be, of course, needing the character sheet if you're playing as a player, and you'll be needing some pencil and whatever. Now, there are some good resources for GMs and players to find online. You can find some Dungeon Masters kits, maybe. You can find some cool things. I even heard there's a Faces of Thedas book coming out soon, which is pretty interesting. Or maybe it's already came out, but I don't think it's on stores right now. Which has all the characters you can find from the Dragon Age games. Main characters, secondary characters, tertiary characters, etc., etc. So, that is really what you'll need. Some extra supplements if you wish. That is, of course, your choice. Now, let's kind of talk about what the characters are in Dragon Age. So, characters are very depending on what the game is going to be about. Most of the time, of course, they're usually something's going to be adventurers or heroes or some other modicum, depending on what the game is based upon. Your characters are going to be having specifically two things that make each character different: the background and their class. The background represents where they started in life. What were they before coming, a class? Were they a noble? Were they a craftsman? Were they just a simple wilder? These backgrounds represent the culture of where the character came from and also his race. So background is the first kind of beginning of the character. Then you have the class, which is the character's current sort of profession, their abilities, what they get, and all that. And there are only three classes in the game that make them all different. Three classes you can see is not much, but that's because it depends based on the game, since there's only three classes. You have the warrior, the rogue, and the mage. The warrior is a frontline character. It can be a frontline character or a ranged character, depends. But they're specifically good at fighting creatures. The rogues are a bit of a mixed character class. They know how to fight well, but they're not much of a. They're more strikers, I guess. So they can also go mixed melee and rogue, but they're also a bit skillful sometimes. And then you have mage, which are spellcasters. They have the power of the fate on their side, the magical force that exists in Dragon Age, and they can use it at their will to cast deadly spells, unless that backfires on them sometimes, because magic is a deadly thing in Dragon Age, apparently. So those are the two main things that your character is going to be defined on: the background and the class. What about the Game Master? What does a Game Master need to know to kind of run his first Dragon Age game? Well, of course, you need all the equipment you'll need for it, which is the Dragon Age core rulebook and whatever. But you need to be prepared as a Game Master to know all the rules of the game. Not all of them. Most of the rules, the important rules. We as Game Masters, we can't bunch all the rules in our head. We're humans. So we only know as much rules as we can. So as long as you know the most important rules, how to roll, what you need to add for stats, etc., you're good to go. You need to, of course, some lore on the world itself of Thedas. Thedas is a big, big place, and you'll need to kind of research a bit, not much, just enough to kind of get you to run your first game. The core rulebook, as I said, has a chapter describing the world of Hades itself, the most important locations, and if you've played the games, you're good also because you know its lore, you know how the cultures are of each race, you know what laws exist. So if you're a game master, you've done that, that's good on you. So a game master needs to be prepared as always, and in Dragon Age, you kind of need to know a lot to get running. But it's not really a fear, really. You don't need to know all the rules. You can sorry, not all the rules, not all the world. If you just have some baseline information on that, that's good. And you don't need to know all the rules. You just need to know the most important rules that are in the game. So those are really so as I talked about players and game masters, what they'll be needing to when they play in Dragon Age, what they'll be needing, and etc. What else is there left? Well, I don't think there's much left over, really. So I think this is a good enough video and time to stop. It's not much of a big video. It's just a small video kind of getting you guys through the ropes of Dragon Age and introduction to its system itself. Hopefully in more videos I'll be explaining, getting down deeper into the rules itself and even doing character creation, which actually will be the next video. I'll be doing character creation with you guys, hopefully kind of online through some way, probably pull up a fillable character sheet, and from there we shall see what happens. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you liked it, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions about the system itself, please don't hesitate to put a comment down below, and I will try my best to answer your questions. But without further ado, have a nice day.